In this bonus WrestleTalk news, Nia Jax has done a shoot interview on her time in WWE where she revealed that she turned down a WWE return with a big old swear, crazy Shane McMahon plans for WrestleMania, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling videos because sometimes we do bonus videos like this one. And it's actually made me a little bit late to do the live Raw review.
Support WrestleTalk!
Nia Jax was one of many WWE stars released on November 4th, 2021, and true to her generally heel character during her time with the company, Nia has turned heel on the podcast world by giving her reveal-all interview not on Talk is Jericho, but on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions. Though, let's be honest, it is the better podcast. Jax made it clear throughout the interview that she wasn't overly upset about being released by the company, saying that she was actually relieved when she received the call from John Laurinaitis informing her of her future endeavors. Knowing that the budget cuts reason wasn't true, Jax apparently called Johnny Ace's bluff by saying she would take a pay cut. She said, "She did it because I knew it was a script," and he was like, "That's not it." And I was like, "Oh, so you just want a totally different change?" And he said, "Yeah, that's it." I hung up the phone and I was relieved. She revealed on the podcast that she was given just 2 hours notice when she was recovering from her torn ACL that she was going to return to Raw during the Performance Center era. Speaking of that time, she noted the energy was just different. Obviously, we were trying to film through a pandemic, but everyone was scared. No one seemed happy. It was just a weird, tense feeling. Something in the air. It just didn't feel the same. She added that the changing of the guard in corporate, most likely a reference to Nick Khan becoming president of WWE in August 2020, changed the atmosphere backstage. We used to have a family camaraderie. We'd all get together and have a good time, but something shifted. Then we had those massive cuts. It was cut after cut after cut, budget cuts and whatnot. Nothing was making sense. She asked for some time off late last year, where she was written off TV in an injury angle with Shayna Baszler, and did not miss WWE while she was gone. When they asked her to come back, she asked if she could extend her time off until the Royal Rumble. According to Jax, the following day, she got the call to say she was being released. On the podcast, Nia was very open about the fact she decided not to get the COVID-19 vaccine, which was probably the reason she got released. She recalled a meeting she had with Vince McMahon, who told her that she would not be able to fulfill her contractual obligations without the vaccine, and that she should act as a locker room leader by getting it to set a good example for the rest of the division. And ironically, WWE then asked her to come back for the Royal Rumble, and Jax had opinions on that. Due to WWE releasing a lot of people over the last 2 years, their women's roster on both Raw and SmackDown was a little thin, and with the decision not to call in any NXT 2.0 stars for this year's Rumble, WWE relied on returning legends and surprise cameos to fill out nearly half of the entrants. Nia revealed on Oral Sessions, which was recorded the day after the show, that she was contacted by WWE to return for the Royal Rumble. According to Jax, the protocol was that WWE were reaching out to all of the released women to ask them if they'd be in the match. If they did, they'd be put on a list, and that list would then be passed to Vince McMahon, who would then decide who he actually wanted to put in the Rumble. Jax was less than thrilled about this situation. She says that she started hysterically laughing when she got the call, thinking it was a joke. When she found out it wasn't, she said, and this is a quote, "No, I'm not coming back." I was like, "No, I'm not coming back. Absolutely not. No, how much more can you on me, dude?" Someone said, "We didn't want her to feel left out." You, that is so much bullshit. You needed people. Blimey, Nia, tell us how you really feel. When they countered that she would be paid for her time, she reminded them that she was still under her 90-day non-compete clause and would have been paid anyway. The topic of busting Becky Lynch open before Survivor Series came up, where Jax revealed that everyone in the angle was told to make it look real and apologize later. She felt that this gave everyone in the ring carte blanche to hit her as hard as they could, because she is the bigger wrestler who can take it. She said, "I continued to get punched in the back of the friggin' head, so I just turned around to clear the person. Whatever angles they showed, my fist wasn't open. I didn't punch her, but it did connect. I didn't realize it was Becky. I honestly thought it was Lana," who, look exactly the same. According to Nia, she didn't even realize that she'd busted Becky open until she saw all of the blood in the ring a few moments later. When she got backstage, she thought she was going to be told off because Kevin Dunn was replaying the punch to Vince McMahon in gorilla position in slow motion. But Vince instead laughed and said, "It's not ballet." He didn't have the same thought of the Rampage match, of course. It was then Vince and WWE's social media team that told Jax to go full heel online because Jax was getting so much heat on Twitter for the incident, with Vince telling Nia that all of the babyfaces in the Survivor Series match should be thanking her because they have a legitimate heel on their hands. Apparently the finish of that Survivor Series match was actually changed. Nia wasn't supposed to go over, and it was changed to Nia being the sole survivor instead because of all the heat she was getting online. Nia was very defensive of her work on the podcast, which is to be expected, and said that the hate she got online hurts a little. She noted that she worked with Alexa Bliss for most of her WWE run, who is a lot smaller than her and never hurt her once. In fact, Jax claims that she only injured 2 people in her entire WWE career, one of which was Becky before Survivor Series, and she wouldn't name the other one, but did say she profusely apologized for it. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure it's more than just 2. Bayley, Ember Moon, and Kairi Sane spring to mind. But Jax said, "We're going 300 days a year, not all of my moves are going to look super clean and smooth and come out like cherries, but I'm not injuring people. I'm not purposefully going out there to hurt people. That's what hurt me the most. I always made a conscious effort to make everyone look good and keep it safe and make sure we got out laughing and having a good time." Which brings us to Charlotte Flair. One of Nia's final moments in WWE was against Charlotte Flair, who she famously faced on Raw on August 30th. Jax and Charlotte appeared to have a real fight in the middle of the ring, something that would lead into a short-term feud where no one could really figure out what was actually happening anymore. Was it just a terrible shoot fight, or just a double tantrum in the middle of the ring? Nia described the incident as miscommunication, and said Charlotte just started laying into her during the commercial break. She said that "I didn't know what was going on. It was definitely intense." Despite the miscommunication, Nia gave the old "some of my best friends are Charlotte Flair" line, and it seems both women have put the issue behind them. Nia described the situation in the locker room after the match finished, where she asked Charlotte Flair if she was good, and Flair allegedly said, "Yeah, it's just out there, something just didn't feel right." It all seems to be storm in a teacup, and as Nia so eloquently put it, shit happens. Bloody hell, there's a lot of swearing in this video. It's a really interesting interview that I recommend you go out of your way to listen to. She also talks about her time on Total Divas and the idea that she had to be the character of Nia Jax 24/7, and how WWE technically own her See Her award because Nia Jax won it, not Lena Fernene. She also alluded that she might be done with wrestling altogether, feeling sad that she didn't get to have a goodbye match in front of the fans. You could have done that at the Rumble, Nia. However, as always, she said, "I never want to say never, because I do love the feeling I get in the ring. I love wrestling. I didn't like the shit, the politics and the BS, but I'm not getting any younger, and I'm trying to find my man so I can start popping out babies." What did you think of Nia Jax's interview? Let me know in the comments down below. And if that wasn't enough mad news for this bonus news episode, Shane McMahon apparently wants to be WWE champion. During the past few weeks on Raw, Austin Theory has placed himself firmly under the wing of WWE chairman Vince McMahon, which led to fan speculation that Theory would be feuding with Shane McMahon for WrestleMania, who then made his return at the Royal Rumble. The storyline would have made complete sense, but it seems that Shane McMahon, who has given us such gems like Raw Underground in recent years, had a different, much less good idea. He wanted a match with Seth Rollins because, well, you know. According to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Shane was very keen on facing Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38, with Shane's idea that it would be set up at the Royal Rumble, then continue at Elimination Chamber for Mania. Meltzer had originally reported that Seth Rollins was penned to win the WWE Championship at day 1 before Brock Lesnar was inserted into that match, and notes that he's unsure if the Shane vs Seth match would have been for the title. But let's be honest, it probably was. Unfortunately for Shane and his grand plan, the call was made to write Seth out of the Rumble match because Vince wanted Seth to sell the post-match angle he had with Reigns where they reenacted the breakup of the Shield, even though Seth wasn't really selling much of anything on Raw last night. Ringside News has since reported that Shane was supposed to be in the Elimination Chamber match but was replaced by Austin Theory. It isn't yet known exactly why Shane's plans appear to have been scrapped, other than that they're a bit rubbish, not that that has stopped WWE before. As we reported on yesterday's WrestleTalk News video, there is a lot of backstage heat on Shane after he allegedly tried to make himself the focus of the Royal Rumble match, and this is likely a big part of that.
Adam Pearce opened the show to tell us everything we just already saw in a video package anyway. Cheers, Adam, really helpful of you! And then made an announcement of actual substance. New WWE Champion Bobby Lashley will be defending his title at the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia. This forced Bobby to come out while he was midway through trying on Seth Rollins' wardrobe to trash Brock Lesnar, who was actually there in the building to come out too.